But it can, I mean, one stick can last quite a while. I'd say instead of, tossing them or letting them get swallowed by the bin of scrap, take it home so you'll know what it is and keep using it. Luckily, Harry got me enough for both classes, for each class. So there's enough to have a little chunk to experiment with. So again, nice, about a 1/4 inch long, just on the oxidized side. Gold. Always pre-warm that gold, lay out in the outer flame, unless you like chasing little balls across the bench and on the floor. And then once it's warm and orange, you can put it right on the tip of that center fire. And you can see fume. Stick your piece in and catch some. A little heavy on that, that's all right. Back on with the blue. Just keep using the torch.
Does that fuming just work on borosilicate or does it work on other glasses?
Oh, that'll work on others.
That's cool.
There's a lot you can do with fuming. I mean, you could potentially, well, this is where the 22 karat would be more important. If you were to do an external coating of fume work, you can basically turn it into like a golden mirror finish.
Yeah.
And the 22, 23 karat would be more important there, so it's stuck better. The 24 can actually rub off. And here I'm doing two things. I'm burning off the excess fume and also melting in those first lines. I usually start at the bottom and hit the one side and then the next side. And you can watch that fume burn right off. And I want those lines to be smoothed in so that I can put the next ones on top of them and not trap air. And I want to burn off the excess fume so that when I fume with silver, the lines I'm going to lay next will be between the first set. And between the first set, if I burn off the gold and then have silver, it will be just silver fume. But since the lines are tight enough, the silver fume lines I put will overlap the gold trap a little bit. So I'll have a bit of a mix and a bit of a, just gold, a bit of a mix, and a bit of a just silver, if done properly. Yeah. Try and get that good layering, but also with minimal layers. Getting 3 different effects with 2 different layers.
You're burning it off between the stripes as well?
Yep. You can actually throw those, I lay them on straight. If I were to hold it this way and try to burn all that off, those lines would eventually sag because you liquefy it and it wants to go downhill. So you'll notice I do a kind of a lot of, back and forth with the angle I'm at. And that is mostly just to keep those lines in the orientation that they have been laid. So that's pretty smooth. And nice, just starting to get fluffy tips on that silver fume. silver ready to start spinning fume. Ooh-wee, that one came out nice.
That is gorgeous.
You want, I've heard it called, what do you want, like a sweet tea look to your silver fume. Sort of a, you know, if I look through it at a white wall, it would look sort of yellowish. Orangish yellowish. So now I'm going in and putting lines in the gaps there, catching a little bit of those first lines, trying to trap that silver on the bare spots.
And you're pressing into that glass, right?
I'm basically heating this, maintaining it in the same position, and pushing the paddle up and into it. There is a little bit of a drop and down push on this, but mostly.
Mostly the paddle's going up.
Yep. So it basically wipes off
Yeah.
as I'm, you know, I gotta, there is a little bit of a push because as it feeds in, you gotta
Yeah.
keep feeding it. But, and once again, this is really just sort of the jumping off point for this sort of technique, this style. It wouldn't have to be dichroic or fume necessarily. You could do, you know, really tight, tiny lines of colors. That's up to the imagination. I'm just sort of doing a basic one here.
Which one of the finished models you have back here is going to look like?
That should look basically like this one here.
Okay. So the sparkles are the dichroic,
Yep.
and then the smoke lines are the
fume.
fume. Okay.
Yeah, dichroic is
That's cool, huh?
you know, basically what, an evaporated metal film. Well, much like fume work. No, they've basically fumed the sheet of glass with this evaporated metal, and then when you cut it up and break that surface up within the matrix of the glass, it gets it does that.
Okay.
And different coatings do different things. If you look through some of the dichroic I have, has broken up into like little sparkles of glitter. And some of it has broken up into like little splinters, little shards. Each coating does different things. The one that I have that has done those really nice shards is the coatings by Sandberg Rainbow 2 Plus. I would highly recommend that stuff. I've had difficulty in burning it, high success, and having it work very nicely. I really like the way that it breaks up into those shards. And if you get the rainbow, you get kind of a range of colors. And if you cut the sheet right, you know, instead of having to say, okay, well, here's a purple, here's a green, you know, different sheet by sheet by sheet, you can cut those colors kind of out of the sheet. And have more colors than just, you know, a mix. Again, trying to save money and not buy excess materials.
I missed how you made the big cube at the beginning. You make that just out of rod?
Yeah,
Okay, fold it.
I basically condensed half of the rod, flattened it, smushed it side to side. It takes a little coaxing to get it into that domino shape. So now that I've got pretty much everything I want in there, to prepare it for folding, what I like to do is give it a little bit of a hug to narrow it down a little bit, to more closely resemble the diameter of the rod that it's getting folded onto. Also helps elongate it a tiny bit. Again, the problem to watch out for being the wrinkling. Try to minimize that and you'll have less problems with it. Okay, close enough. I'm going to give the remainder of the rod a little bit of a preheat. So it's ready to accept the fold. And then just like on that chaos swirl, I heat right at the tails. You'll see me kind of spinning back and forth, back and forth. And that's in an effort to keep it straight. If I spun in one direction with it this soupy, it would start twisting those tails. Give it just a quick little touchdown. You'll see it hasn't connected all the way. And I'm directing my heat basically at that gap, that space between the two pieces. That's kind of hiding from the heat. As it goes, they kind of just end up coming onto each other and sticking. If I were to try to do that all in one, a lot of times you can be left with this kind of schmutzy little connection point, touchdown spot, which I may get a little bit of on this push. Really got to get it nice and hot, nice and soupy. Here's one of the troubles I have a lot from the fold. It's a stressful thing to do. It's I don't know. It's a lot of movement for that glass, and a lot of times I get this little line. It's trying to bunch on itself. See right in that fold, there's a little bit of a funky line in there. And with enough heating, it can be pretty minimal, but I like to pull it off. I suppose I could avoid that if I had a handle on the piece I was folding, because I could give it a little tug in the opposite direction before bringing it in the direction I want. Kind of like the ornament loops.
You have two different pieces.
Or two different pieces, yeah. That's another way. I could have basically created two paddles, set one in the kiln, decorated one, and then sandwiched the two.